Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today, guys, we're going to be jumping into the world that is Cardano to see what's been going on most recently from a price action, but also to see and catch up on the latest news for Cardano. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you have not yet joined us in Discord, links in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check it out today? Okay, guys, let's jump on down into the desktop and take a look at, first of all, what's been going on with the price action of ADA. So as you can see, guys, we have been, very boring actually quite of late. We've kind of been trading sideways here. My expectation is that we still kind of move up towards this 74.2 cent range, and we get a little bit of green right now at the point of recording this video, but I don't think that's going to last all too long in my opinion. Ultimately though, I think we are looking at some kind of corrective play down here, and I would be a little bit concerned over this structure at the moment. Okay, so we could be looking at a potential reversal with our C wave actually being right here, and the same thing goes for Bitcoin as well, which is kind of leading the pack. If we actually go ahead and just take a look at this from a technical point of view here, and we just move that over, you can see how we came down and we hit this level here. This is telling me that we have a high chance, or a very high probability, that we are going to pull on down ever so slightly lower. Now, this is essentially would make this whole entire thing a 335 corrective position potentially. So we pull back down here, for example, 1 2 3 1 2 3 coming on up, and then we have this 5-wave move coming on down. So this is a correction right in the middle here, and then obviously looking for the reversal back to the upside, right? So there's a fair amount of work to be done here. I would be a little bit cautious on this. We don't necessarily know how high this is going to go, but it shouldn't go as high as, if I grab hold of my horizontal ray just here, it shouldn't cross this level here at 5511. So 55.11, we shouldn't cross higher than that. If that fourth wave crosses, then it is not a 5-wave move. So just keep an eye on that. Essentially, we want to make sure that it isn't, falling out of that structure point. So a good kind of move up here. We are, of course, overbought on this hourly chart. The 4-hourly chart has, of course, got plenty of room to grow. So ultimately, I'm still thinking that there's a longer term move all the way up here. So if I were to take a look at this, if I grab the C wave, put the C wave back up here, right, and I pull this into our hourly, just get rid of that stock for a second. As I was talking about a 335 correction, this entire B wave, okay, might pull us down lower yet. And what we'd be looking at here is, if I grab hold of these, you can see that we are kind of tracking down in these motions, and this basically would allow us to make our 335 structure. This is all a B wave move, okay? So I probably didn't articulate that incredibly well at the beginning there, so apologies. And then we move up into a C wave move going higher at about 74.2, okay? So that's kind of the play here. Now, this is all a complex move in itself, because on our larger time frame, if I bring this back down, you can kind of see we are still potentially aiming down to move to 30 cent or so, which is about a 90% drop from its previous all-time high. So there's still a lot of work to be done here. I still expect us to pull back down, but we have a bit of volatility to be expected, right? Bouncing up, then pulling back down, and moving to 74.2 would actually allow us to then fall down to 30 cent quite comfortably in, again, another kind of 3-wave move, right? We would have this potentially playing out like so, okay? And again, that would line up very, very nicely with the 1-to-1 ratio that you would expect to find in the space in terms of Elliott wave theory. So for the most part, the price action here is going to be presenting us with some fantastic trading opportunities as we potentially move on up towards that 74.2 cent range. And the same, this should happen at the same time as Bitcoin moving up to about 33,000. And then, of course, pulling down for Bitcoin to 22,000 and Cardano to about 30 cent. And again, this actually then would be the bottom, I feel, of the corrective play on the macro scale. If I zoom all the way out here, you can kind of see exactly what that looks like. This would actually mark the bottom of the correction. And it's possible that this overextends and it goes down a little bit lower, but I think that's incredibly, it's not likely. I think there's a low probability of that. So we'll have to monitor the space. Essentially, Bitcoin's going to be leading the pack, and I expect Bitcoin's reversal to come in on that macro at about $22,000. It's possible that it goes down a little bit lower, of course, and we'll have to just adjust things as we kind of get into the finessing moments of that. As always, the micro wave counts and the micro structures are more important, as they are going to be, really finessing the actual end targets. But for essentially thinking about where we're heading longer term, over the next kind of a few weeks or so, we are talking about 30 cent, but in the next kind of little push up, we should be aiming for 74.2 in my opinion here for Cardano. Now, obviously, as we head into June, I would like to think that this is going to have completed, and then we start to move on up in a really big way, because that actually then brings me on to the news, right? Whale activities has been spotted on Cardano, as basically the founder, Charles Hoskinson, has released a date for the hard fork event. So as part of its project update, Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson disclosed that the Vasil hard fork network or combinator event will undergo a closed public testing phase. He also disclosed that the hard fork is on schedule, and it basically would be implemented on the 29th of June. And that actually is a really good point in time for what I think the reversal of this market is going to come on in. Okay, I'm obviously timing the market is going to be incredibly difficult, right? But I do expect at some point in June to have found the bottom and to start to see a reversal through. I do not subscribe to the same theory that a lot of other people are talking about, multi-year long bear markets. Check out my Bitcoin video if you want to know more about why I think that isn't the case, and actually why I am a little bit more bullish than maybe bearish than some other people, right? So anyway, let's get into this and not talk about Bitcoin too much. So 29th of June is the implementation date. I think that's a really good key date, and I think it's going to perform incredibly well on the lead up to it. And you might find it's a sell the news event a little bit, but I still think there's going to be significant growth afterwards. So do watch out for that. So basically the Cardano blockchain and its smart contract 𝗕𝗘𝗪 are expected to undergo a significant update after this hard fork. Basically, the founder has confirmed that the hard fork is still on schedule and will be implemented on the 29th of June. As part of its project update, Hoskinson basically disclosed that the hard fork of network will undergo a close public testing phase. Also, it will be collaborating with dApps in a bid to test the applications on its testnet and mainnet. After this phase, exchanges will be allowed to access the test whether its integration is necessary for Cardano blockchain. So, you know, the Vasil hard fork is a major initiative in the current Cardano ecosystem and era, right? After 𝗕𝗀𝗪. So I think, you know, very, very interesting kind of stuff to come. So the era focuses on improving scalability, interoperability, and optimization, and these are very key things, as many of you people will know, you know, within the ecosystem, right? We have bottlenecks specifically around the NFTs on the ecosystem at the moment, causing quite a bit of lag and all of that kind of stuff. But essentially, the scalability is going to really enhance the future of the entire ecosystem. You're going to start to see again more and more projects building on the ecosystem and basically launching their dApps on the ecosystem. So I think this is a really good key point for us. And as I spoke about this previously, right, there are several things that are involved in this. You have obviously CIP 31, 32, 33, and 40. So check out my previous Cardano video if you want to know more about those. I'm not going to go through them again in this video. But these are bringing, you know, true scalability, interoperability and optimization to Cardano. And it's important that we understand there was lots of kind of issues the early stages, like September time 2021, with smart contracts. People thought straight out of the box they were going to be able to implement these without you know, significant learning curve. However, obviously it came out that essentially you can use smart contracts. There's over 1,000 of them at the point of December, right? So smart contracts exist on Cardano, but it takes a lot of work to use them. It's not easy out of the box. Whereas, you know, as we start to move further forward, that becomes a little bit more standardized through other kind of, you know, applications that are going to be built for Cardano and essentially help with the 𝗕𝗘𝗪 end of things. So standardization of those smart contracts are absolutely vital in terms of mass adoption. And obviously that comes with scalability, interoperability, and optimization as well. Obviously, we had a lot of noise as well about, you know, 1 block per transaction. That was actually fake, wasn't real. And it was just, you had to think about the blocks differently than you would normally, right? This comes out of the UTXO model rather than what we had previously. previously. So a lot of other blockchains, you're able to kind of cram more transactions into those blocks, etc. But essentially, Cardano takes a different approach to it, and you have to kind of think differently. It was a bit of a learning curve. Obviously, you can have more than one transaction per block, etc. It's just about understanding, what's actually going on and how to do it. Okay, but again, that standardization is a part of the ecosystem going further forward is going to increase, and we're going to have more throughput, and obviously that will obviously increase more transactions in the blocks, etc. Now, obviously, we talk about Hydra solution. We talk about this quite a bit in 2021. It's not a part of this by any stretch of the imagination, but that does increase the scalability even further, upwards, of basically 1,000 transactions per node, right? And when you have, thousands of nodes, you can just imagine what that means to scalability, right? Essentially, it means that you're going to dwarf pretty much most other blockchain techs out there in terms of, how many transactions per second you can have. But the thing that you've got to understand with Hydra is it isn't going to be a fixed number in the sand, or drawn a line in the sand to say, that's the limit. Instead, the way that it is designed so that you have more transactions as required. So you don't have this upper limit getting hit, and you don't have a bottleneck or anything like that. If more transactions are required, then obviously you get additional throughput through additional nodes and so forth. So you could be starting off at, let's say, 100 transactions per second per node until you have demand coming in, and then all of a sudden, that springs up to 700 transactions per second per node. And then, of course, you scale that up again. I say node, I mean validator, right? You move that up again upwards to 1,000 or even more transactions per second per node. So as the demand increases, the system can dynamically scale with that. Okay, and the Hydra solution, it has some promising aspects to it, hopefully later in the year as well. So really good stuff going on. A little bit outside of this hard fork, of course, but as we're talking about scalability, I thought it was worth just noting that this is a step in the right direction and improving the scalability, but it isn't the Hydra solution that will come later, and that gives you basically, I want to call it unlimited scalability. It's not truly unlimited, but it is definitely beyond most other ecosystems out there, right? So really important we understand that. So again, if you're looking for more details about the CIP 31, 32, 33, and 40, check out the other video. I'm not going to go into those in this video, but basically let's go on to the whale activity, right? So according to stats shared regarding the network growth, about 937 projects are being built on Cardano. Previously this was 925. The number of projects that have recently launched on the ecosystem is 84, with NFT projects up to 550. 5,549, right? So a lot of NFT-based projects on there. In addition, GitHub Connect had about 2,600, with the Cardano token rising to 4.7 million. So according to Cardano Blockchain Insights, the number of ADA wallets had increased by 100,000 as of late April from March, and the total number was 3.268 as of April 19. So you can see significant increase, right? The average rate of new ADA wallets per day has increased from 2,000 to 8,000 per day. So that's on average, which is fantastic kind of see that kind of growth behind Cardano. Now, obviously, Chris talks about this a fair amount with additional institutional players coming in and looking to basically scoop up significant rates on Cardano, right? We saw this also not too long ago when ADA dropped down. I think it was about 40 cents, and there was over 100,000. Sorry, no, there was over 1,000 transactions with over $100,000 worth of ADA inside them. And essentially this meant a significant price bump, although, the macro is still looking that we're pulling down towards 30 cents. It does show that the whale activity has been increasing, and we have seen them buy the dip for Cardano, and we've seen a significant amounts of growth on the amount of ADA being purchased, right? And we can see this through the volumes. Now, obviously, this happens mainly when pockets of liquidity open up. They don't tend generally, just do market orders on exchanges, for example. Instead, they rely on people shorting along in the market and able to take advantage of the liquidity pockets that get created. So it's important that we understand how these whales are doing it, but they are actually accumulating a vast amount of ADA. So bear in mind what this might mean long term as we start to see more shrinkage of supply on exchanges. Something that Chris talked about quite a bit recently is how Binance is really struggling with the supply of ADA on their platform. Essentially, they're actually incentivizing people to lock up their ADA on the platform so that they don't run out. And that kind of supply shock is what is going to increase the price significantly when the demand comes in. So I'm not going to kind of go on anymore. There's some interesting things here that I thought were worth kind of talking about, specifically with the fact that we now have a date that I think is going to coincide really well with market movements. We've also got some interesting kind of price expectations on the short term and long term for Cardano, as high as maybe 74 cent before pulling down to a fantastic accumulation zone of 30 cent. And of course, long term, I think with that shrinkage of supply, we are going to see, significant price increase, which will compound demand and compound supply shock issues that is going to potentially take Cardano to prices that people have only jokingly spoken about in the past. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.